they bring him on to have a one-on-one with her to give her advice.
I am so excited to see.
You should be hiding this guy. Thank God I'm not the Golden Bachelorette because I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver and Sensational. I am Lois Mills, known as the Lo or I. At any rate, we are back again for another episode of the Golden Bachelorette. And in episode 3, we have 2 first dates and 1 group date. And we're getting closer to eliminating more of the men. So let me just dive right into date number 1 was with Pascal.
I'm very excited to be able to spend time with her.
Our incredibly handsome and charming Frenchman from Chicago. Now, first date, not the local place for dinner, not the movies, but to the private part of the airport where a private jet awaits them to fly them off to none other than Las Vegas. I was sort of surprised she chose Pascal. I really didn't think she had a lot of interest in him. And just my own little personal opinion, I didn't think there was a lot of spark between the two of them. After seeing her with Chicken Soup Choc, and the way she related to him in the couple past episodes, I don't know, I didn't see that same spark with Pascal. But at any rate, she did choose him. And you know what? She had one hell of a time. So let me start. So they land in Las Vegas and they're whisked off to this room filled with gourmet food and champagne and wardrobes. I mean, his wardrobe, her wardrobe, and they begin by trying on the different outfits. Well, you know what? That woman could wear a brown bag and look good. She really can. And, it was hard to believe that Pascal was 69 years old because he came out in one of the tuxedo jackets without any shirt on. Guy was pretty damn buff. So this was going to look like, kind of a really, really fun date. Now, of course, I should tell you this started out during the daytime. And of course, then we get back to a shot of Choc, who was feeling like, oh my God, what if she likes Pascal more than me? And I thought, that's a little presumptuous of you to think that you already had it in the bag. So I was kind of glad to see that, he was having a little bit of a come down from on high moment. And so they tried on all these different outfits and she, and was in this extraordinary gown. And who pops in? None other than Mr. Las Vegas himself. Wayne Newton. Wayne, you are a fixture. You really are a fixture. But my God, would you please change your plastic surgeon?
Damn!
You don't need me to say it. The rest of the world doesn't need me to say it. We all see it. And I have no idea, but at this point, you've got to be in your 80s. And I am in total favor of doing everything you can to keep yourself looking youthful. Youthful is different than looking plastic. So that's just an aside. So what happens, of course, is Wayne's a piano player there, and he's been there playing the piano for the two of them. And now he accompanies Wayne Newton while he sings to this couple. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it ends up being, from moving from there into just them having a really good time. And he's a lot of fun. He's a good dancer. And, the guy is really a lot of fun and not as well. He's not maudlin at all. Certainly not in comparison to, I'll get to the others, but the guy just isn't maudlin. He's a lot of fun. And she's really having a good time. And so then after they go to dinner, they have this beautiful table, just the two of them. And, he starts talking about how he grew up. And Pascal apparently grew up quite poor. And then when he was very young, a teenager, he said he decided he was going to the United States. And he was getting ready to go, and he noticed a hole in the bottom of his shoe and sole of the shoe. And the father said, "Give me the shoe." And father returned the shoe. And what he did was put a piece of cardboard in the inner sole. So he comes to the United States, not knowing a word of English, with a shoe that has a hole in it and a piece of cardboard inside the shoe. So I guess I don't know how that was going to keep his foot dry if he had, if he was walking in the rain or the snow. But she now finds a newfound respect for Pascal. She, on the other hand, didn't quite grow up like he did, but she has a lot of respect for him, for what he's made of himself. And the interesting thing is, to me anyway, once again, she speaks about feeling unsafe. And this is a recurring theme of hers, that and another one I'll get to later, where it's obviously very important to her to feel safe. Since her husband has passed, she doesn't feel safe. But at any rate, she does see a future and gives him a rose, which he was thrilled about, as he was worried he would be eliminated. And I might say quite a huge kiss. So I thought that, not bad at all. So, and I also got to feel a little bit liking. I think I'm going to say I got to feel that I was liking Pascal a little more than I had. However, I don't know what future she's seeing, since he owns a business in Chicago and she's in Maryland, but I'll get to that later too. And then, oh dear me, we get another view of Charles L. God almighty. I have never. This man, I think all of this is kind of like if she were to go to bed with him, it would be a sympathy.
Boom, bam, bop.
Because he is very sweet in his simplicity, but he is really maudlin. I mean, every time he's on camera, he's speaking about his wife and how he's suffered and how he can't let go of her. I know this is television, but, 6 years after the fact, and, I'm just not sure. But again, he's not the only one with this. I don't want to minimize it by calling it a routine, but frankly, I kind of lost my patience with all of the bringing up of their spouses or mates that have left them and how they're still in their hearts. And I get that. Of course, they're going to still be in your heart. But I mean, I thought you were there to move on to find love, not bawling with somebody else about it. But we move on to the next twist in the production, and that is Jonathan finds out he's not going on the group date. And this just blew me away because he starts crying. Why is he crying? He's crying because he's going to have to be on a one-on-one date with her, and if it doesn't work out, he might be alone again. I mean, talk about a Jack story. I mean, I don't understand. I thought the one-on-one gave a man, these men, one of the men, whoever the one-on-one is, an opportunity to make his moves, to let her know what kind of person he is. He's going to pitch her, and he's going to get to know who she is. But this guy sits there and says, well, if it doesn't work out, I might be alone again. And he's crying over this. I have to tell you, I mean, thank God I'm not the Golden Bachelorette, because I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. Call me heartless, call me cynical, call me whatever. I'm all of those things, huh? But Jesus, help me with this. You're crying because it might not work out. I remember, it's a quick backstory. I remember I had a wonderful housekeeper for years. I adored this girl. And she was from Poland. And she was going to go back to Poland for the first time in 10 years. She had not seen her mother. Her mother hadn't seen her children. And I mean, the preparation for this trip to Poland went on for 2 months ahead of time. So that was the final day of her working for me before she was taking her vacation. She starts crying. I said, Teresa, why are you crying? I mean, you've been preparing. You've got all these boxes going of all the things you're bringing. You're going to see your mother and your brother that you haven't seen for all these years. Why are you crying? And she's in her tears saying, well, because I'm going to have to leave them to come back. And I said, but Jesus, you're going for a month. Can you wait until at least the last week you're there before you start thinking about leaving? So I just remembered that when I saw what he said about, I might be alone again. Well, really? God, this was, I couldn't stand it. But then we went on to the group date, if you want to call it, where they played kickball. And actually, they were having a lot of fun with it. But, I've got to read this to you because I didn't know these football players, but two famous football players by the name of Eric Dickinson and Andre Reed, the celebrities, came in to give them some tips on kickball. And these guys really, you could see they were having a lot of fun. And I have to tell you, she was not involved in kickball, for the better part of the game. She was one of the commentators, so to speak, if this were a televised sporting event. And I will say that I saw Gregg slide into base. I mean, this is a 60-some-year-old guy. And I was very impressed. So I had a lot of fun watching them play kickball. And there were two teams, the red team and the blue team, and they had people in the bleachers with red pom-poms or blue pom-poms. And I just thought the whole thing was a lot of fun. And then the best part was dear Charles. Charles never played any sport in his life, and he was very nervous. And Charles is always that last guy on the bleacher, like he was last week. And the camaraderie with the men, they were very supportive of him and, told him the only thing he needed to do. And he was so thrilled with himself that he actually kicked the ball. It went about 2 feet. But as he said, he looked at the right side of things. Nobody caught the ball. Well, of course not. It was right at his feet, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, he really, to see him so excited that he kicked the ball, not knowing, that it wasn't, but no one caught it. And I thought, all right, that's looking at the bright side of things, Charles L. And towards the very, very end, before they got off the field, she got on and she kicked the ball, and she just has a good time with these fellows. She really does. She wants to have fun. Guy, our ER doctor, had a one-on-one conversation with Charles. And Charles, this whole scene, I really don't know. Again, if I were the producer, I would not have had this. But again, it's everything to evoke emotion from the audience. Charles began to describe to Guy what his wife went through when she got to the hospital. Of course, he's sobbing and he's carrying on, and why is this happening to me? And, it just is too much for me to handle. But Guy tells him that the blood he saw was probably because his wife bit her tongue. And again, it was another aha moment. I mean, we had an aha moment when one of our dear guys last week, was traumatized by proms because of what happened to him 45 years before that when he was stood up at the last minute. He was traumatized all those years. And the silly prom they held, well, that just erased the trauma. And with Charles, he actually was telling our lady, Joan, how his conversation with Guy just lifted his entire spirit about how his wife died, because Guy explained that his late wife probably bit her tongue. So again, I find this just to be too over the top. It's just too over the top for me to really be able to feel anything for any of these people who I know have had sadness in their lives. And again, I think it's the producers doing this. They make it as though it's still happening today. And then one little word, one little dance, and everything that he suffered for 6 years has been eradicated. And now he feels so much better. And then her mother, who's 92, I believe, became ill. And Joan apparently is the caretaker for everyone, feels she needs to be the strong one, and she's very torn because even though there's family at home, she's always been the one to take care of the family, and so she's sharing this. She's sharing this with Gerry. Gerry is very positive, very religious, and Gerry has a prayer for her. And now with all of this in between, people getting, Gil and Jonathan and all of these, I can't explain it, all of these conversations, they're happening at the after party. Gil, Gil has a 17-year-old daughter, which makes him like a full-time dad. And he shares his story. And again, we have all the sadness and just all this stuff all the time. But she does give Gil a rose. So after the first episode, a story broke concerning Gil, in which the story has it that he was issued a restraining order by an ex-girlfriend. I just found this story out, and I just thought it sort of interesting that I know for a fact, because I've heard it from women who have filed applications to be the Golden Bachelorette, that it is a very strong statement within this questionnaire that you do not lie. And if you lie, they can eliminate you immediately. Apparently, the restraining order was issued after the background check, so maybe that's why he was able to become part of the initial 24. I doubt any repercussions will take place because there weren't in the Golden Bachelor. Now, second one-on-one is with Jonathan. Just to bring you up to date in case you haven't been watching, Jonathan was the traumatized teenage non-prom goer. And this particular first date takes place on horses. They go horseback riding out in the middle of really what is God's country. I don't think he's ever been on a horse. She's afraid of horses because she was bit by one, but they get on a horse and they start riding. And, I'm no equestrian, but they seem to be doing okay. And they had to have geriatric horses because those horses, they were just plodding along. They were very, very slow horses. But again, Jonathan talks about having been at that all-white school, and apparently it was pretty darn traumatic for him. So he had been married and everything was going along swimmingly well. And he and his, I think it was a daughter, they were asleep. And his wife came into the bedroom where he was sleeping, and he woke up knowing she was there, and she just makes the announcement, I want a divorce. I have not been happy. And so this was 9 years ago. Another traumatic event for him. I understand that I had something quite similar happen, so I get, how it shocks the hell out of you. The men, before they go on a one-on-one date, pack up their things in case they're eliminated. And so while he was zipping his bag, he was brought back to that moment when he was in the state of shock, packing his bag to leave a marriage that he apparently didn't know his wife was so unhappy. And so he's been quite guarded and afraid of being hurt again. So she is, of course, as always, very supportive. And he, from most of his life, I don't think it was just from the divorce, because I heard remnants of this in the episode at the prom thing. He feels he's never quite enough. And so she, she's there to say, I want you to know you are always enough. And, the nice platitudes. Well, what is she supposed to say? Oh, you're not enough, Putz? Yeah, you're right. You're not enough. Out. Of course not. So, I think she doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and I think she's genuinely just a nice lady. But again, it's the expected thing to say. So while they're on this date, Kim creates a song back at the ranch, or back at the castle, so to speak. Kim creates this song that he wants everyone to sing, but the guys, they don't want to sing it. They just feel, Kim, that's your song. Guy gets in and is supportive of it. Finally, all the guys say, no, we don't want to sing the song. And I mean, Kim, I don't know, he's, a naval officer. I don't know if he's used to being a leader, or if he just thinks he is that much more special than everybody else, but he does seem to want to be the ringleader. Don't know. We'll find out if that works. Now, I've taken some notes, so please forgive me, because this does go on for 2 hours, So
2 hours later,
she comes back and she begins talking about she's missing her family, and she's talking to the guys. And she admits that she has asked them to open up and to be vulnerable, and she herself has not been, or she feels she hasn't been. She's always been the strong one, and so she now shares that she misses her family, she's concerned about her mother who's not well, and she's still attached to her dead husband. And she doesn't know. She was asked, people ask her, are you really ready? And she really doesn't know if she's really ready. And then I, once again, as the viewer sitting at home saying, what the hell are you doing here? There is absolutely no timing for grieving that fits into everyone. It's so individual. How you grieve is so individual. The length of time is so individual. But really it's a continuing theme that I just find, I will say, if I am there with any one of these guys and they keep talking about how they have their ex or their late wife in their hearts, and and I would just say, what, these people have just too much baggage. Either you're going to start fresh and keep some of that to yourself, or, I don't think it's all that great to be all that open. But then that's my own. Then you get Chuck. Chicken Soup Chuck. He asked her to leave the group because he wanted a one-on-one. He wanted to be with her alone. And I thought, Chuck, I think you're counting your chickens before they hatch. Chuck, you are just a little too certain of yourself. And of course, everybody's got a connection. They all feel connections with her, and she feels connections with him, and they are all feeling connections. I got to tell you, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I don't feel connections with everybody I meet. And that's whether they're wearing a skirt or a pair of trousers that, with the zip in well, I can't say that, but a pair of trousers that has a pair of testicles inside. But they all feel this connection. So he's Chalk, feels touched by her still loving her dead husband. And she then compares Chalk to her late husband, John. And I thought, oh, this is trouble. This is trouble. And then she meets again just with Gerry. And as I say, he composes this prayer for for her mother getting well and for her in general. And then she's crying and he's crying. And this emotion is running so rampant. I just don't know what to say. And then we get, I think, to really the hardest part that even for me to watch. And that's having to give the roses out. And it's hard. And I could, it's really hard for her. But just before that, who appears? I cannot believe that the producers would actually bring on the Golden Bachelor, the lying Golden Bachelor, who married and got divorced. Well, you can't even say. How do you call somebody married for 2.5 months getting divorced? It was, it's a breakup. But, they bring him on to have a one-on-one with her to give her advice.
I am so excited. Oh, God.
And I'm thinking, you should be hiding this guy. He lied about what he did for a living. He lied about not having anyone since his wife died 3 years before, when in fact he had a 2-year relationship. And they bring him back to give her advice? And she's listening to it. Well, let me tell you, Joan, if you're listening to this, he'd be the last one I'd be taking advice from. I would think that they being the producers, should have felt that was pretty damn scandalous to have a liar on there, especially when their questionnaire is so adamant about anybody lying will be eliminated. Or maybe it said can be. But you know what? I just thought it was bad form. But she puts out the roses. Now we've eliminated more. And they all took it in pretty good spirit. I have to say that I was sort of sad to see Gregg go, because I don't know. I think there was something about Gregg. I think when he slid into the base and, got his knees and shins all scraped up. But there was something about, I think I just liked his smile. And then Kim, the songwriter, was eliminated. And I didn't feel really bad about that. But let me close this with an incredible quote by Jimmy Kimmel. Love is blind and deaf and frequently incontinent. And on that note, I look forward to your tuning in next week for the next episode. In the meantime, thank you for being with me today. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe, share with your friends, hit the notification bell and the like hand. Do keep up with my blog by going down into the description box and click on the link that'll take you to the blog. In the meantime, everyone, thank you again. Stay well. God bless. And bye now.
We are the Mansion Men, the Golden Season Mansion Men. From us to you, good night.